Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of PKM Weekly. So there's lots of things to get through and let's get right into it. So Obsidian, Nicole and Zolt, they did a little bit of a talk on how to sketch your mind in Obsidian and other tools. So Nicole was the presenter and Zolt was the guest, and they looked through the visual aspects of note-taking and how you can use it to your benefit to basically storytell and create Lego blocks of ideas and hybrid notes so that you can get the best out of the content that you're reading and make the most out of your notes. So it basically just goes through of how you can use creative thinking, playfulness and systematization to get the most out of what you're creating and what you're capturing. So it's definitely worthwhile. I was quite against the creative aspect of it, or the visual aspect, but after seeing some of Zolt's work, it has helped a lot of just adding a few visual aspects into my notes just for remembering and capturing different things. And sometimes it's a lot easier when you're going back to visit, seeing a quick image rather than a wall of text. So it's definitely worthwhile having a look into if you haven't already. And he does showcase his new book, so again, well worthwhile checking out and supporting Zolt's work on that aspect. So thank you, Nicole and Zolt, for that. There was another one with lesser known tips and gripes with Obsidian. I'll see a typo here, so we'll fix that. So these are a couple of interesting ones on Reddit, and it was what are some lesser known features about Obsidian that I've been using Obsidian for quite a while, but there was a few things that I think I'm missing just to get the best full potential out of it. So what type of things do users recommend to get the most out of Obsidian? 127 posts or comments, and there's quite a few in here. So it's well worthwhile looking into just in case there's something that you are unaware of that might help you level up your game within Obsidian. And the flip side of that was, what are your gripes with Obsidian? So there's a few things that I'm missing. Although I love Obsidian, Sync, True Standard Markdown, databases view canvas and something happens to whatever plugin it is, you can lose your notes and the handwriting is a pain. So there's about 200 or so comments as well, with graph view, improvements, API documentation, copy and paste from another program. So well worthwhile looking into just in case there's something there which is also a gripe to you. So do check them both out. And last up with Obsidian was +1 creator. He wrote, after 5 years and nearly 20 hours of how-to videos on Obsidian, he's stepping back from Obsidian. So basically a conversation with his daughter led to him changing a little bit of his aspect of note-taking. So rather than living in Obsidian, he's now going to go down the bullet journal approach. So in the video he talks about that, talks about his thinking and the future of the channel and what he's aiming to do and create in the future. So hopefully we'll see some more great videos, because I did enjoy the how-to videos on Obsidian, and hopefully he's going to do some more great how-to videos on the bullet journal and what other systems he comes across in the future. So well worthwhile checking out and supporting +1 creator on that aspect and his journey. Capacities, they're up next. They did some great mobile updates over the past few weeks. So they've been working really hard on the mobile aspect of the app, focusing on bug fixes, UI polishes, just making the whole experience a lot better, a lot faster, smoother and easier to use. So there are a lot of updates within the Capacities mobile, so you can check it out here. UI cleanup and refactoring, reworked picker menus and sheets, no more missing icons, history menu, block selection, moving blocks has all improved, add and edit properties has improved. So great work from the Capacities team. And they have also done some noteworthy desktop improvements in the same time. So command palette has been refined, note selection and media objects has also been refined. Command A and Control A in objects dashboards now works a lot better, and various different other things that they've been working on. So great work from the Capacities team on that front. The flip side, unfortunately, was quite a few users have said mobile app revolution, not quite. So although the Capacities team has been working on the mobile aspect for quite a while, for quite the past few weeks now, there are a few things which OP doesn't really enjoy and doesn't really appreciate the mobile app as much as others. So for instance, the way you select and move a block is now much more convenient, but there are some things which I am quite disappointed with it. So you can check out here with the full details of his comments and things, as well as responses from other people. So if you're on that boat, well worthwhile checking out. And then the team and Beth, they did a great video of why it's helpful to tag and link within Capacities, just to make the best and the most out of your notes. So linking and tagging is a big aspect of Capacities and these new PKM apps. And Beth just talks us through of how we can get the benefit out of it and how we can improve our linking and tagging. So thank you for that, Beth. Tana, vibe coding in Tana. So Ev, she was looking at scraping a website where she needs some information, and she was struggling a little bit of how to do it, and she wanted that information directly within Tana or in a way that she could copy and paste it so then she could keep it in her knowledge base. So what the best way was that she opened up Claude, wrote a prompt within it, got some code out, inputted it into Tana, and voila, basically she's got it all in here. And the easiest way, just checking out this 20-second video, on this website she clicks the scrape button and it pulls, I've not actually checked what the website is, but it pulls out a lot of content from it in a way that is usable, so that then she can now do whatever it is that she wants to do with the content from the website that she's easily got within Tana database. And if you do want it, definitely do write to Ev on Twitter, which I've included here, because she was pondering about releasing it as a button or as a script so that you can easily import it into your own Tana workspace. So if you are, or if you do want it, do pester her, as I'm sure she'll then release it, just like she's done on a lot of the other things that she's created. So well done, Ev, and thank you. And next up was a new framework from Andrew, and it's a Spike framework, which basically transforms information hoarding into actionable intelligence systems. So we consume a lot of information, we save, we highlight, we collect, but that's really all we do. We don't actually do anything with the information. So Andrew's looking to change that, and he's done that using the Spike method, which is signals that hint at a change, patterns that show persistence, insights that show perspective, know-how that you can actually apply, and enablers to make things possible. So definitely worthwhile checking out the page here, and it just goes through what it is, what makes the framework, explains the Spike with the 5 detailed steps with a lot more detail than I just explained it, and how you can actually use it at the various different stages. So definitely worthwhile checking into. It is on a tanastack.com website, but it is definitely not only applicable to Tana, and you can apply it to any app that you use. So great stuff, Andrew, thank you. Logseq, it's quite a few things from Danzu. In fact, this week it's all from Danzu, so thank you very much for keeping us up to date, Danzu. First up was library, so it's a new feature that's been implemented within Logseq, and it allows us automatic collection of namespaced pages, making it easier to build hierarchies. So it goes through the video, it goes into a lot of detail of what it is, the changes, and some practical examples, so it's well worthwhile looking into. And this is just a showcase of how it looks. So this is one of the pages, one of the libraries, and you can then create pages off this. But it's well worthwhile looking into the video so that you can see how it actually works and how you might implement it within your Logseq graph. There was also other updates, quite a few of them. Obviously the library feature, do check the video out, that's just been posted above. Import and export features they've improved, and task management as well, they've done a few tweaks. But there is other things, other enhancements, or quite a few other enhancements. User experience, mobile improvements, performance, data management, bug fixes, and you can see here the list is quite extensive. So thank you very much, Danzu, for posting that, much appreciated. And last up was one that it is now possible. So if you're on the fence of which version to use, the MD version or the DB version, you can actually have them both side by side. So you don't need to go all into the DB version and if you're not 100% sure that you will use it and that you're happy with it. So as you can see here, it's got the MD version loaded on the right hand side, the DB version loaded on the left, and you can play around with them. They're not interactive, so it's not like if you put some notes on the MD version, it will go into the DB version, and vice versa. I think that might be the plan in who knows how long, but I think that's what Logseq wants to achieve in the end, so that you can have a DB version and an MD version feeding off the same data, or syncing live, if you will, so that your notes are always in MD rather than in a DB. But I think that's quite a long way off, so in the meantime you can have them side by side. So thank you very much, Danzu, for that. Lazy. Now this is an interesting one. So I've called it New Kid on the Block for the version 2, because version 1 did come out maybe a year or so ago. although I don't think a lot of people could use it. So version 2 seems to be a lot more out there. And Tom did a great video, and it basically showcases what it is and how you can use it with the various different capturing tools that are available. So definitely worthwhile checking out this video because it does go through a lot of the detail. And if you're not sure about the app itself, do check out lazy.so, where they go into the detail of what it is and their aims and how you can check out the app here. And I did play around with it, and I did find something that was very cool. So if I'm on a map, for example, it's just Apple Maps, I do the command Command J, which brings up the pop-up box, which is the lazy pop-up box. So I can do L, which will just capture, or J, and we'll discard that, or J if I want to ask something, and I press K by mistake. So if we do J and we say, give me a walking route for 1.5 hours, starting and ending where I am now. So that'll find the location of where I currently am and give me a bit of an idea. So go to Kensington Palace, walk the gardens, Hyde Park, see the Diana Memorial, walk back, walk round, end at Kensington Palace, and then basically go back where you are. So that was great. And now if I say, okay, well, let me capture that. So this will capture it in a note, and it will go into, if I do capture, so that's captured. Command I, and there we go. So that's pulled it up here. And now what we can do, if I do give me a list of top places to eat, just for lunch and dinner. And we can do the same thing here with places to eat. So it's going to find where I am and just list out a number of places where you can have lunch and dinner. And again, if I do capture and capture again, so that's it captured, and that's just put in the note. And then what it does also, I can use a serendipity version, although then I just need to tweak this one, and then you can link them together. So you can have the places where you can go walking as well as the places that we just listed out to eat. I am still playing around with it, so obviously there are going to be better ways of doing this, how you can add the notes in the same card, if you will. But it is great because it does allow you just to have or to ask about anything that is on your screen. So lots of great stuff with Lazy, so definitely worthwhile checking out. It is a little bit of you have to pay before you try. And it's a 3-month thing minimum, so it's $30 for 3 months. I think they could have done it 1 month for $10. You try it out, it's $10. If you don't like it, you move on. But they have kind of locked you into a 3-month minimum. And I do understand why they do want you to have the pay before you try, because there's just so much AI that you can use, and I'm sure it costs them money in terms of running it. So I think they just want to have a little bit of control on that one. But it is worthwhile, and hopefully, as I say, they will implement a 1-month trial as opposed to a 3-month one, and it will just mean it's $10 and maybe a bit more palatable for the users out there. So definitely worthwhile checking that one out. Anytype, they've done a new plan, so it's a limited edition one, and it's basically following a lot of users' comments and feedbacks. And for $48 a year, you get 10 gig of encrypted sync storage, 4 editors, 100 meg for web publishing, and a global username and personalized domain. So it's a new feature that they've implemented, or a new plan that they've implemented, just to make it a little bit more accessible for a number of users out there. So definitely worthwhile checking that one out. And I've provided a link here where you can sign up direct from the Anytype website. So you've got the starter one, the Explorer one, which is a limited edition offer, so it doesn't actually know, or it doesn't actually say how long it's going to be valid for, the builder one or the co-creator. So definitely worthwhile checking those out. Heptabase and Noteey, Anton, he did a great video comparing the two of them, so they are very similar but at the same time quite different. So if you are in doubt of what the differences are, what one app can do versus what the other one can do, how similar or how different they are, definitely do check this out. It's about an hour long, if I remember right, an hour and 13 long, and he does go through a lot of the detail, comparing and contrasting both of the apps, the pros and cons of each one, so definitely worthwhile looking into if you want a Heptabase or Noteey or the visual type PKM app that you can use. So thank you, Anton, for doing that. Much appreciated, because I was also in doubt of exactly what the differences were. And then Noteey, they did a little bit of a sneak preview of version 1.25. So they've added folder support, supported add to the board, auto layout feature. So check out this video. And the dev of Noteey goes through some of the sneak peeks that they've got going on and what they're going to implement in the near future. So I think it's a great way of just showcasing the app and the updates that they're going to implement. And lastly, I think, Craft on Android. So Craft has been a long time iOS app only, but now it is possible, it seems, to run Craft on Android. So you can use the beta web app that's being developed at the moment, and through that you can access it on Android, and it does seem to work. So some of the comments that I saw on Twitter was that it works okay. Obviously it'd be nice to have a proper dedicated Android app, but in the meantime, as a workaround, this does seem to work quite well. So that was it for this week, so thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next week. Bye.